On September 11th, 2025, Bethan Hardison, activist, asked Yara Shahidi, activist, in a Forbes interview on how she felt about her world right now. Yara answered honestly by saying she is terrified and would like a plan to fix it. I empathize in that no one should live in fear. In my opinion, this sounds like a plea for help. I like to help, but how? When Yara Shahidi was younger, she did an equality speech on October 19, 2018 at the Gleason Respect Awards. I argue the speech is the hypothesis to fix her world and to reduce her fear. In April 2024, I published my book on Amazon based on this hypothesis, showing that prevention will lead to equity and that equity will lead to equality. This hypothesis will fix the political, economic, and social problems in her world and our world. This nonprofit, non-edited channel is a letter to Yara Shahidi and teaching Yara's hypothesis to the public in order to better our world. In the end, Yara Shahidi will get the Nobel Peace Prize for her hypothesis. Dear Yara Shahidi, this is chapter 20. Immigration equality. Jeez. Dr. King's dream has to be not bad to start out. Dr. King's dream has to be relevant to everyone, including immigrants. Every humanoid on Earth is entitled to the American dream and the social economic fairness that can bring about trust on the us-them divide, as the racism experts pointed out. This will change the culture and accept immigrants into this society, but first they have to work for it. Lamana Plus applies to all people, but they have to achieve citizenship, and this is the key. This is why an immigrant category was included. In this way, every humanoid starts out with equity within American citizenship with the laws that governs everyone. Once this is done, then Dr. King's dream for equality for all will be realized. What is the immigration problem today? Over the past decades, there has been a lot of anti-immigration rhetoric in the United States, Canada, and Europe. The people who feel this way are citing problems with the government. For example, the notion is that the government is not taking care of them with their needs, like benefits, but the government is spending a lot of money on helping people from other countries and are giving the benefits to help them cope comfortably in the United States. There are also dehumanization myths about immigrants. For example, people believe that building a wall will stop immigration from happening. Actually, a majority of undocumented immigrants come into the country legally, but get into trouble when they overstay their visas. Also, people believe that immigrants are drug smugglers at the Mexico border, like pushing fentanyl on Americans' children. The truth is that 0.02% of immigrants arrested at the border had fentanyl on them, while 86% of Americans convicted are fentanyl traffickers. Misinformation, propaganda. The other rhetoric is fear, because the people who feel this way do not necessarily like, understand, or trust the new people from the foreign countries and are worried that they will steal their jobs and cause crime. The vast majority of undocumented immigrants don't sell drugs, shoot people, commit terrorism, or commit crimes because they are searching for a better life and don't want to get into trouble. Plus, if they get caught, then they will be deported. The research has shown that the first generation of immigrants do not actually cause more crime than those that have lived here. Plus, the fear that immigrants are stealing American jobs is simply not true. The reason people are losing their jobs is because of corporate outsourcing, automation, destruction of unions, artificial intelligence, and cost cutting to maximize profits to shareholders. This is why microloans are so important. This will level the playing field. The truth, because they'll get their own businesses. The truth is that immigrants fill the jobs that most Americans don't want. In the end, the government not taking care of them, and fear has promoted anti-immigration sentiment for decades. Is there a benefit to immigration? To reiterate, microloans, happiness, and God restructure are just a few benefits that all Americans will be getting. Plus, Lamana Plus will get rid of human fear of one another by helping students get to know each other from different cultures and races from around the world in the United States, all delegated in schools with prevention. This is Dr. King's dream and the American dream for all humanoids. God, it's just so beautiful when you understand everything. When you can see the answers. It's just so beautiful. Sorry. With that out of the way, immigrant equality will help with China. With that out of the way, immigration equality will help with China. China's large and impressive accomplishments over the past 4 decades have spurred scholars and politicians to debate whether the decline of the United States as the world's dominant political and economic force is inevitable. That's not. China's economy grew 18.3% in the first quarter of 2021 compared to 2020, came in solidly in place as the world's second largest economy. Many now believe that China, rather than the United States, may drive the global economic recovery from this pandemic. This is, published in 2024. But it's still relevant today. Many now believe that China, rather than the United States, may drive the global economic recovery in the pandemic. The reason for this rapid growth in China's middle class, heartburn. The reason for this rapid growth is China's middle class. It will reach 550 million people in the near future. This is 1.5 times larger than the entire U.S. population. What this means is that China's middle class will have more spending power, and this increases China GDP. This is really important. At the heart of capitalism is money. The more money that is spent, for the most part, then the more it is used to buy and purchase things. Always remember, an economy has to be balanced, or inflation or excess spending or too much spending will make money worthless. It is this balance that can make capitalism work better than any other monetary system ever invented by humans. This means that China's middle class can purchase and spend more profit profoundly than the American middle class or America as a whole in the near future. The middle class is at the heart of any healthy economy. The bigger the middle class, then the bigger the economy will be for that country. This is why microloans are so important, because the poor and the middle class become part of the middle class. But they spend, and the spending will make the United States bigger, incorporate all immigrants, incorporate the entire country. And then the world. Then, with all that spending, then we can have the access from the taxes, what people are not using, to find the godly structure, to find God, if it exists. I mean, come on. Because everyone wants to be part of something bigger than themselves. But they want to also be part of something that they can do for an individual. This is why happiness is so important. Individual happiness, collective happiness. Striving for the same thing. So easy. The bigger the middle class, then the bigger the economy will be for that country. I know, it still has to be balanced. It still has to be, it's still going to go up and down. But it's the overall spending of the 10 billion people pushing the science and technology to find the purpose for humanity, is to find why are we here. The genesis of it is the key point of why we're here. We find the answers, then we can either go there or, it's just so simple. The bigger the middle class, then the bigger the economy will be for that country. This can mean more people to tax and more money to spend on the country's weapons, social programs, and economic infrastructures to increase expansion. This expansion can be recorded with the GDP, or gross domestic product. The bigger the GDP, then the more power and influence a country can have over the world. This is why the U.S. has been so influential for decades, especially after World War II. We can beat China if we incorporate immigration equality. Does China have any weaknesses? China is an authoritarian government who is also a surveillance state, which means they track people's faces, scan people's phones, and are able to tell if a person has left their house. For example, persecution of its Uyghur citizens provides I forgot how to pronounce this. Uyghurs, I know I'm saying that right, wrong, citizens, sorry, provides a glimpse of how China will interact with nations and people that displeases it in a world order that it dominates. With this being said, there will be a global contest in the future over which Uyghurs, thank you, Uyghur citizens, they're holding the Uyghur citizens. I think that's right. With this being said, there will be a global contest in the future over which government will be a dominant influence over global affairs, the U.S. or China. What does immigration have to do with China? In order to compete with China in the future, the U.S. has to have a bigger middle class. With more immigrants from around the world, the U.S. can beat China and keep its economic and political influence over the world with its allies. See, if I know the United States is kind of an iffy place right now, but if we can get to Dr. King's dream in the United States, then that will spread. No more racism, no more poverty, no more wars, no more hunger. Wow, sounds like Star Trek. No more diseases, and that's another chapter I have. It's just, yeah, it's all in this stupid book. It's all there. It's just so easy. Sorry. I know, I'm just rambling. I'm not scared anymore for rambling. I'm wasting time. Happy days. What does this have to do with China? In order to compete with China in the future, the U.S. has to have a bigger middle class. With more immigrants from around the world, the U.S. can beat China and keep its economic and political influence over the world with its allies. We can bleed dictators from their suppressed citizens in countries in Africa, Asia, South America, North America, Oceania, Europe, and Antarctica, if we have to, in order to gain a bigger middle class. I'll explain bleeding countries in more detail with North Korea, Russia, and Iran examples. We can also bleed China as well. It's really cool. With microloans, happiness, Lamana Plus, and God infrastructure all playing a part in building a future for the U.S., then most Chinese middle-class citizens, as well as citizens from across the world, will want to be a part of these new prospects as the U.S. tries to attempt to build a Type 1 civilization. See, all humanoids are the same. All humans are the same. Same limbic system, the same wanting, to be happy, have a family if wanted, if they need be, but they want to find their purpose. And their purpose is on an individual basis. And then, again, I'm rambling. And then the collective is, I want to be part of something. Like, that's why people go to church or find religion. But if the entire social construct of humans across the world are on that why are we here process, then the purpose of the individual and the social collective can be combined. It's just, I'm rambling. It's just, I know, it's just so simple. Okay, with China's leaders growing more paranoid with surveillance of their citizens, torturing people that do not agree with them, and wanting more power over the globe, then China's understanding of the future will be dystopian, one for everyone on Earth. I'm not saying I'm not saying I'm creating a utopia. It's not. Utopia is relative, but it's better than anything so far. And they're not my ideas. That's what's so funny. They're just there. They're already there. This is just me finding it and just relaying it. It's just so dumb why we don't do it, but you know. Good times. I mean, China, dystopian. United States, close to utopian. No racism, happiness, trying to find God, individual purpose, fulfilled, happiness. I'm saying, duh. Dr. King's dream realized. Okay, just China's dystopian future will lose its influence and economic power over the other countries, and the U.S. will still be the global influencer as the first country to produce a Type 1 civilization. How can immigration equality be achieved? In the little history that I know about my family, according to my mother, it is full of immigrants. My grandfather fought in World War II against Hitler and the Nazi regime. While in Europe, he met my grandmother who lived in Belgium. They got married before the war was over, and she moved with him to the United States, and they both lived in Los Angeles. The funny thing was that she only spoke French, and he only spoke English. Jeez. Oh man, I would hate to be I hate to be back then. When my grandmother's family came over from Belgium to live in Los Angeles, they too only spoke French. To survive, my grandmother and her family worked in French businesses because of their language barrier. Now, for the longest time, my grandfather and her family stayed in their little French community without a care in the world because they had each other. They also relied on each other for social occasions to emergencies. Everyone was happy for the most part except my grandfather, who only knew English. He liked my grandmother's relatives because they drank as much as he did, but he was restless. My grandfather was a bus driver, and he drove from state to state. He wanted to travel to the places he saw with his wife and kids, but his wife wouldn't do it because of fear and the language barrier. It took years of persuasion, but my grandmother and her family became American citizens, learned English, adapted to life outside of their French community, and traveled America for the next 50 years, even after their retirements. My mother recalls that her parents were always the happiest when they traveled because they got away from the day-to-day and got to go on an adventure. The second story is about my neighbors. I had very nice Latino neighbors for over 13 years. They were immigrants from Mexico. They only knew Spanish, and I met them. They only knew Spanish when I met them, and had knowledge of some English when they moved away. As for me, I had 2 years of college Spanish, and it wasn't really enough to have full conversations with them. I know it wasn't. I took 4 years of high school Spanish, 2 years of college Spanish, and none. What a waste. Then I learned later that if you really want to understand Spanish, you have to go to a country for 6 months, immerse yourself into that country for 6 months, then you know Spanish. Then when you come back, it's all into you. No way. So 6 years of waste of blah, blah, Spanish, nothing. Just absolutely dumb. What a waste of time. Sorry. Again, they were very... as for me, I only had 2 years of college Spanish, and it wasn't really enough to have full conversations with them. Again, they were really nice, but they didn't understand my jokes in Spanish with my American accent. Plus, they went too fast with their Spanish for me to comprehend much of what they were saying. I just knew. It was just so fast. And I'm a slow talker, and so I listened so fast, and you're trying to comprehend the Spanish, trying to understand the English because you're trying to translate, and then it gets all jarbled. Just what? Okay. Okay. I don't know, it's just funny. Again, they were really nice, but they didn't understand my jokes in Spanish with my American accent. Plus, they went too fast with their Spanish for me to comprehend much of what they were saying. I just nodded a lot. What do you do? See, see, I'm not the best at making friends, so in my mind, it was a missed opportunity for a good relationship. I mean, they were really nice, really nice. I am not the best at making, From my observations of them, I think they believe they missed an opportunity for a friendship with me as well. Over the years, we really tried hard to have conversations, but it was mostly deer in the headlights and lack of understanding with one another. In the end, we both mostly greeted each other in Spanish over the years every time we saw each other. I would have, I live in a townhouse with other townhouses, and we have this yard where we would have outdoor parties. Well, I throw them because I'm the on-site manager. And finally, after like a decade of having them, for the longest time, my neighbors wouldn't come because, you know, they're mostly white people here. And then when another Spanish-speaking family came in, they came, and then they came because they felt more comfortable with them, so they could talk Spanish to them, and they brought their cervezas, beer. And it was the last time they were there because they were moving, and they finally came. It's just so beautiful to see. I mean, for 9 years, they were just like, no, 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 we're not coming. And they finally came. Finally, God, it was like, yay, you're here. Hola, ¿cómo estás? We joked so much. That was so funny. Anyways, in both of these cases, I argue that the immigrants were not properly educated to navigate America freely. This lack of education can form barriers for the immigrants who come here and for the residents or citizens who live here and want to communicate with them. In either case, social connection has a hard time being developed when communication doesn't occur. As stated before, social connection is the force that helps make people happy and to live in old age with relationships with people like friendships, family, and lovers. It is the driving force for humans to develop trust with one another. And trust takes so long to to form. And then say if you're in a relationship and the person cheats, within like 10 seconds, it's gone. All of it. It's just, whoever designed us should have been the opposite. We should trust fast, and then it takes a while to, break us. But it's the opposite. That's why social connections and fear builds up faster than the actual trust, because it takes so long. It's so annoying. God. That's why contact theory is the building block of that trust, because it's the beginning of the social connection. The walls come down, the testosterone goes up, the talking starts, the prefrontal cortex starts lighting up. Oh yeah, you're not the empathy, just the sympathy begins to say, oh, I can see you, I can listen to you, I can actually communicate with you. That is the key to the human design. It's just so simple. That's why 2 years old from graduation is so key, because if you're an adult, it takes forever, almost forever, to say, oh yeah, I am doing bad. I have to hit rock bottom if I'm in denial for the longest time to finally go, oh, I feel bad. Look at everything I've destroyed, everything I've hurt. Then I can be rebuilt. That takes years to people that, like if they do drugs, gambling, cheating, whatever, drinking too much, just on a selfish quest. If you're in denial for that long, or escaping from whatever you can't deal with in the reality, your resilience is really low, then it almost takes forever for the psychology to kick in and say, oh yeah, you can rebuild from this. And it's just, I know, I'm babbling again, sorry. But But it's so simple. But it's just, there's a way to do it. The scaffolding is there. The 2 years old of graduation to get to the Lamana Plus equity that we all want through the prevention, then to get to the equality. But you have to build that trust over time, because if you don't, then you'll have fear. Then you'll have the misinformation. Then everything is just topsy-turvy. I mean, even with capitalism, you need everything the same over and over. So investors will go, oh, it's safe to invest with this person so they can make a profit, so they can get their money back. That's why microloans will work here, because it's consistent. That's why microloans can't work in the third world country, because it's inconsistent, because of, if a hurricane happens, oh no, they lost their business and I lost their business because I lent their money. So now what do? You have to start over. It's nation building. This is actual nation building for the entire human race, to get to a type 1 civilization that works for everyone, from the very conservative to the very liberal, because we all want the same thing. The very liberal want the government to work. The very conservative want private businesses to work. It's the non-trust. It's so simple. Sorry. As stated before, social connection is the force that helps people make people happy and live to an old age with relationships with people, like friendships, families, and lovers. It is the driving force for humans to develop trust with one another. Plus, it is also the driving force for creating Lamana Plus in schools for students from 2 years old to graduation. The communication in Lamana Plus will end racism and bring about Dr. King's dream. This is why communication between people has to be developed between citizens and immigrants, so that trust can be achieved. How can immigration equality be achieved? The United States has more immigrants than any other country in the world, which is more than 40 million people. There are also 10.5 million unauthorized immigrants here in the United States as well. The population of immigrants is also very diverse, with about every country being represented. The majority of immigrants come from Mexico, China, India, Philippines, and El Salvador. Before immigrants and refugees first stepped foot in the United States, they were vetted, which is a lengthy process of interviews and background checks. In the interviews, the interviewer is looking for gaps or inconsistencies in their stories of where they came from and who they know. Their irises and their eyes also can be scanned, and they can be interviewed multiple times. All that information is run through U.S. security databases for any red flags. Plus, their social media and additional databases are also used to check their background. The average vetting process takes 18 to 24 months. The vetting process of the United States is the most cumbersome and thorough vetting process in the world. If an immigrant is a refugee, then they stay If an immigrant is a refugee, then they stay in that country until the vetting process is over. But immigrants who come to the United States are held in an immigration detention center. In fact, approximately 48% of immigrants are held in immigration detention for 2 to 4 years, and about 5% are held for over 4 years. As of April 2019, Texas, Louisiana, Arizona, California, and Georgia are the top 5 states with the largest number of people in the U.S. immigration detention. Plus, in California, the average time to complete an immigration case is 2 to 3 years. If the case involves a criminal conviction, then it takes longer. How can immigration equality be achieved? Since immigrants have to live in a detention center for 2 years or more in order to pass the vetting process and to pass their immigration case, then it argued that there should be a third obstacle for immigrants to pass, and that is learning how to become an American citizen. The detention center can be turned into an education center for immigrants to become real American citizens when they pass all 3 vetting immigration when they pass all three: venting, immigration case, and the American citizen test. This education center will be a revolving door of the immigrant's choice by passing all three phases of the immigration process, or they can leave and go back to their own country of origin or be deported. If the immigrant wants to stay, then this will be motivation to do the work. The education process will be 4 years long. In this education process, they will learn this American society with the freedom and knowledge given to them to navigate anywhere in the 50 states without fear and a language barrier. First, this detention center turned into an education center will be transparent to the public and to the family and friends if they have any. The facility will be monitored by cameras to accumulate data so that studies can be done to make sure everybody in the facility are safe, represented, and treated fairly. These people are humans like everyone else and only want an opportunity in life like the American dream. I would have my grandmother and her family go through this immigration process and education center to pass the 3 immigration phases after World War II. I would also have my Mexican neighbors do it as well. The same can be said about me if I wanted to be a citizen of Uganda. I would go through the same immigration process and education center for 4 years to pass the 3 immigration phases to understand how to become a Ugandan citizen and explore Uganda without fear or language barrier. Also, if an advocate or family member who monitors their loved ones or friend in a live stream on the internet finds out they are being mistreated or for whatever reason, then they are given a tape of the situation and can give it to an ethics judge for deliberation for compensation after they become an American citizen if they win the court case. Second, the people who want to become Americans will be given an individual education plan, like to understand how they learn, to have psychological intervention, etc., just like a student entering school from 2 years old to graduation in the U.S. They will work with Lamana Plus in all 18 categories so they know how to communicate and respect each other in situational scientific learning projects in school subjects. They will also be evaluated with empathy training to solidify their understanding of equality for all. Plus, they will learn to use microloans, how to be happy, to vote, pay taxes, pay rent, have a job, move to smaller towns for better competition for their businesses, how to make friends, how to have relationships with Lamana Plus citizens, how to blend their culture with the Type 1 civilization being created in the United States, understand their individual history, understand what type of job they want to do for their future purpose in life, understand the Godman structure. And when they fail in life, it is all right because in this new culture, they can start over. It's all there. It's so easy. So easy. Sorry, immigration is having the people from other countries learn the exact same thing that the students in the United States are learning from 2 years old to graduation, because we are 99.9% genetically the same. So, as I stated before, every human on earth wants equality for all because humans are 99.99% genetically the same. I love it. It'll come from the same genetic Adam, and same genetic Eve from Africa. So true. God, what? All this fighting, all this diversity, all this racism, it's just gone, just like that. Just, whoa. Gone. Now, the same procedure can be done with Native American land. This is good. Again, it is Native American land. They can do whatever they want with their land. It is their choice. My argument is what I stated before. I want Native American tribes to join together and become a state, or have Native American tribal lands become a country. I want Native American tribes to join together and become a state, or have Native American tribal lands become a county and a state to have representation in the state's legislation. In any case, the Native American tribal lands will get money from the federal government or the state government to improve upon infrastructure, like schools, housing, roads. With tribal lands being a state or a county of a state, then the freedom to travel and live in these new state or county lands are vital for non-Native Americans to have access to, like every other state or county in the Union. Again, it is native land, and they can do what they want with their land. It is their choice. As a compromise, I argue an immigration policy to native land. As a compromise, I argue an immigration policy to native lands. Native American land is a sovereign country, so they can still dictate, like the U.S. does with immigrants from other countries who can live on their lands without discrimination. If a non-native wants to live on tribal land, then they will go to school to get a Native American citizenship, just like immigrants coming to the U.S. For example, if a non-native wanted to live on Cherokee land, then this person would be vetted, have a background check, and take classes on the Cherokee culture, language, history, religion, etc. They will spend years with their IEP and understanding what it means to be a Cherokee under the rules and regulations in that sovereign land. When they graduate, they will get their Cherokee citizenship and will be able to travel and live on tribal land. The whole thing will be reviewed by humanitarian organizations and universities to make sure that the education is credible and the process is ethical. Everyone gets a chance under ethical guidelines. There will be televised graduations of native citizens given out each year, so that the freedom is still there for non-natives to see the possibility to become a citizen for the tribal nations. With Native Americans controlling on who gets to live and travel on tribal lands, then Native Americans won't feel the overwhelming population increase of Native Americans losing their land once again to foreigners. That's so important. So important. In this way, the Native American culture, identity, language, etc. will be preserved for future generations, and the freedom and prosperity is kept for everyone who wants to be a Native American citizen. God, it's just, when you see it, it's just beautiful. Beautiful! Further immigration discussion can be done on how to bleed North Korea, Iran, and Russia. When it comes to North Korea, it has nuclear weapons that can hit the United States. North Korea is making nuclear weapons to defend itself against a possible U.S. invasion. So what do we do? To deal with North Korea, you take the people away from them. Every year, hundreds of people make the perilous journey out of North Korea to make a better life in South Korea. North Korea is a dystopian regimen that has no freedom for its people. The country will kill a person leaving the country unannounced. This means the people are desperate for something new. Despite U.S. sanctions, China is still helping North Korea by buying some of North Korea's products, which in turn, some of the money is used to build its arsenal of nuclear weapons. From China's perspective, they want a healthy North Korea as a buffer from the United States getting too close to their border. China does fear American intentions. If North Korea hypothetically started to collapse, then a large number of North Korean citizens would begin coming across the border to China to escape the humanitarian disaster. When a famine hit in 1990 in North Korea, then its people came to China's borders to escape it. China doesn't want to deal with North Korean citizens coming over its border again. So this is why they keep their border with North Korea very secured and keep the money flowing into North Korea as well. So what? South Korea's population is on the decline, but North Korea's population is also declining as well. Basically, both countries need each other to survive. North Korea has a population of 25 million. This is 25 million souls that China does not want to have or take care of. On the other hand, South Korea needs these 25 million souls for their declining population, but North Korea won't let them go because they are needed to make more nuclear weapons. I argue that the United States and South Korea open up their side of the Korean DMZ, or demilitarized zone. The DMZ is useless now because both countries have nuclear weapons, and a regular conventional invasion from any side will start. The DMZ is useless now because both countries have nuclear weapons, and a regular conventional invasion from any side will never happen. When the DMZ is opened up, then the war against the North Korean propaganda starts. This can begin with the dropping of pamphlets saying South Korea welcomes all North Korean people, and send messages across North Korea's border by sending new reports on the hacked internet that they sort of do have. Of course, the people will be hesitant at first, but once loved ones see other loved ones in the news that is real, then an overflow of people will come to South Korea. As for the leader of North Korea, he is not just going to stand by and let his people leave. Since he took office, it has been harder for refugees to leave North Korea. Again, if anybody leaves North Korea, then they are killed. The leader of North Korea will do everything in his power to keep all of the people under his control. He will try and fill because no one can control 25 million people all at once, especially if there is a better life in South Korea. Getting all those people across the border is going to take a long while, like with bribes and negotiations. At first, there will be an underground railroad, so to speak, like in the Civil War, to get North Koreans out, and then hopefully there will be mass exodus to South Korea. Since the video is going really long, I'll end it there. This is in part 1 for immigration equality. So it's 45 minutes. I've been rambling on so long. Oh, listen here. It's Nissan Shigo. Konnichiwa, Laloon, oui. Hola, buenos dias, adios. We all win together. De nada.